Hey, it's Michael from Logic Hop. In this video, we're going to take a quick look at using drip data, drip conditional statements in a page template. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a condition that has multiple drip tags. So I want to see if the user has multiple drip tags set. So with the drip plugin installed, I can come down and I can select drip tag. And what it's going to do is it's going to load in my tags that are available within drip. So one of the ones I'm going to use is customer, and I want to use this for multiple tags. So I simply come here and I click the plus button, and then this would give me a condition that says if the drip tag customer is tagged, and I'm going to select another drip tag, and I'm going to use another test. This is just a couple of test tags that I have, and I'm going to update this. So what we can see here is my question, my conditional statement is if drip tag customer is tagged and drip tag another test is tagged, then this condition is true. Another thing I want to look at here is typically we're going to use JavaScript or we're going to use shortcodes to create our conditions, but in this instance we're going to do it programmatically with PHP. So we'll see that I have a condition ID here and that my condition ID is 702. That's also really just the same as the post ID. So 702, if you're a programmer, you're probably used to seeing these IDs with WordPress. So I'm going to jump in and say in our docs, we have information that talks about evaluating conditions with PHP. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to grab this snippet of code. We also have some information in our drip documentation about using drip data with PHP. So you can reference this as well. This is what I'm going to be using in my template itself. I've gone ahead and I've created a really simple page. It's just using the theme 2017, and my page just says, this is the drip template test. Well, I have this template opened here, and this is just the page file. Typically, you'd want to create a child theme. I'm just showing you a quick example of this. So you'll see if I come here and I modify my template, I'm just going to write test exclamation point, save this. I'm going to reload my page. You can see that test just shows up here. I'm really just modifying the page.php in the theme. You would do this either in your child theme, in your template pages, or you could do it in your functions.php. This is more specific to the template page itself. So what I do here is I have some sample code. I'm going to post this as well. Is I'm going to take this and copy it, and I'm going to paste it into place here. And let me just tab this in. Not using spaces, I'm using tabs here. You can see that I've got a PHP snippet of code. I'm kind of going with the WordPress methodology, which is to just create, stick everything in PHP blocks. So I have a global for Logic Hop, and that's just to make sure that that variable is available. A lot of times it's going to work just fine. If I got rid of it, it would work fine. But if you're using it in functions or in the functions.php, sometimes it'll throw an error if you're not referencing this global variable. Just put it in there to be safe. And then here I have my conditional block. So this is saying if, and the condition that we're checking is Logic Hop. So we're calling Logic Hop core, and we're saying get condition. And then this is the important part here, this 702. As you remember, that's my condition ID, or the post ID for that condition. So that ties this conditional statement, or this block of code, this if statement, back to that condition. And what it's going to do is every time this template loads, it's going to evaluate that condition. So that's going to say if condition 702 is met, display anything in between these two blocks. So if, and then we have the else. So we're asking the question, and then if the question is true, we're going to display drip condition met. Else, if it's not true, we're going to say drip condition not met. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and save this here. And then I'm just going to jump into drip that I have a test account set up here. I've got my personal email address, mjnewman@pomp.com. And you can see the tags I have associated with this user is customer, and then I also have some custom fields down here. So when I come to the page and I have my drip template test, you'll see that I'm actually passing the query string with the drip underscore email value and that email address, my email address. You only need to do this once, so that's going to happen, and then the user is going to be associated with a Logic Hop account. A lot of times you'll do this when the drip form is completed. You can do it through other mechanisms as well. You can also do it through broadcasts or email links, but you only need to do it once. When I reload this page, what we're going to hit here is drip condition is not met. And we can look at my account and we see that we have that customer tag, but the condition itself is saying if drip tag customer and the drip tag another test. So let me go ahead here, back to the page, and let me add this tag. So I can add customer and another test. I'm gonna go ahead and click save. Subscriber properties saved. And now when I reload this page, boom, there we go. Drip condition is met. So you can see that in the page template that this is going to allow us to display content conditionally based on drip tags. It also gives us that easy fallback, so the condition is met or the condition is not met. One thing that you definitely want to be careful with is if you're using page caching, if you're using caching plugins like WP Super Cache, Rocket Cache, Total Cache, anything that's doing caching, you don't want to go about doing it this way if this page is cached, because this is being run when the page is generated. So it's going to store that. So if somebody comes in and this page gets cached, those conditions are going to be cached and the next person isn't going to see the true result. So in that instance, that's when you want to use our JavaScript tracking and our JavaScript conditions. Just something to be aware of and think about. Another thing I want to show you is in our drip settings, our drip documentation, we can echo data out using PHP or return data. I just want to show a quick example of echoing data out. I've got some snippets of code here. I'm just going to paste in. So I'm going to say if that condition is met. I'm also going to come in here and I'm going to paste, let me throw an H3 here. And you'll see that this is just going to get data drip email. So when I reload this page, it should also display my email address. Email address may or may not be useful, but something else that could be kind of useful, and it's based on the email, is this would be our gravatar image. So if the user has a gravatar associated with it, let me pop this underneath here. So I'm going to save this out and then reload, and now it's going to pull this in. So we're actually on the Logic Hop side grabbing the gravatars based on the email address. If that doesn't exist, we'll actually have that default gravatar image. Another thing that's pretty cool is you'll notice in Drip that I have some custom fields set up. So I've got favorite food, it's not hot dog. I've got an identifier, which is first_name, and that says Michael. So what I can do with this is I can also use these custom fields. So this is another get data here. And I'm going to paste this here, and rather than email, I'm going to get rid of that and just say, what's up? So when I reload, it's going to display that information here. What's up, Michael? Now, it may be a little mysterious as to where all these variables are coming from. When I scroll down in our drip documentation, you can see that we have drip variable reference. And this will give us all the information that's available. One way that you can actually check this is in your Logic Hop settings, you'll see that we have an option here, which is session output, and it's enable session display. And what this allows us to do is, if I get rid of this, session equals display, and when I return this, as long as if we don't have JavaScript caching enabled, this is going to kick out all of the data that's currently available for the user. So as I scroll down, you can see pages that I viewed, goals, query string variables and so forth, time, refer, and then you can see what we have here is this drip class or this drip object. So I've got drip, and then these are any of the things that you can reference. If you want to grab time zone, if you want to grab UTC offset, if you want to grab any of the custom fields, tags, landing URLs, original refers, value, IP address, lead score. So you can start to tie these elements back in. So this is just a good way to be able to go in and view the data. Definitely this is something you want to disable. You want this disabled when you're not testing your site, when you're not in development. This is not something you want enabled during production. Just something to keep in mind as you go through this. So I hope this is a helpful way to come in and take a look at what's going on with drip data and using conditions and also displaying drip data programmatically. Now, I just wanted to jump back in for a second because I was very adamant about you do not want to use this methodology if you have page tracking enabled. Well, I want to show you what to do if you do have page tracking enabled. You can use our JavaScript conditions. And to use a JavaScript condition, you can either create them in the condition builder, or you can grab them here from the condition itself. So when I come in, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to paste it in. You'll see what it does is it gives me a div, and it has a lot of default values with it. It has my condition ID. And what I can do is I can just come in here and I can say condition met. So when I put that in, this is going to be triggered via JavaScript. And if I want to do the inverse of this, so this is that other end of that if statement, so I can come in here and I can say, I'm going to grab this H2 and say condition not met. And the way we actually want to trigger this is the data not. This means the condition is not true. I'm going to say that's true. So what this is going to do is if the condition is met, it's going to be triggered here. If not, it's going to be triggered here. So I want to save this, and then let's take a look at this page. When I reload, there we have the condition is met. And this is just being triggered via JavaScript. So I'm going to jump back in here, and I'm actually going to remove this another test. Go ahead and click save here. And one thing is, as we add and remove conditions or custom fields and tags using Logic Hop with Drip, we're automatically updating and refreshing for the user. But if the user is on the site and we go into the dashboard and make the change, we are going to have to force the reload. So I'm going to paste in the information, boom, and then we come in and we see drip condition not met. We have the one that's being triggered via JavaScript and the one that's actually being triggered via the shortcode on the page. Just a quick glance, I wanted to show you how we can make these work with JavaScript, how we can make them work with PHP. So I hope this is helpful to take a look. If you have any questions at all, email info@logichop.com, or you can set up a time. You can reach me via calendly.com/logichop. Book a 15-minute session. We'll hop on and walk through some of these samples and get you up and going. So any questions, again, give me a shout. Thank you again for checking out Logic Hop.